Once everything's done and you're happy with what you have, you'll need to get your character back into 3ds Max to retopologize it. To export your character from ZBrush, go to the Z plugin menu and then click on Decimate Master to begin to lower the polygon count so 3ds Max can handle it without lagging. Firstly, click on Pre-Process All to analyze all of the subtools. Then click on Decimate All to reduce their polygon counts, and you can adjust the amount of reduction using the sliders. Now, as you can see, your character has been triangulated and the polygon count has been highly reduced. Following this, you would click on FBX Export Import and hit All, and then Export. This FBX file will contain all of your subtools. Okay, so now we just want to drag in our FBX into 3ds Max and center it in the viewport. Now, the whole point of Retopology is turning your high polygon mesh into a lower polygon mesh to meet the module's criteria. Essentially, we're going to be rebuilding our character from scratch by dragging polygons out to create the silhouette of the character. As you can see, I have some artifacts in my character which can be removed by selecting some black polygons and growing them to get the rest selected, then simply deleting them. Because sometimes the polygons get intersected or they overlap, but I found a way to fix it instead of needing to go back into ZBrush and resculpt. So as I've said before, just select the subtool which has the issue, turn it into an editable poly, select polygon, and pick one of the black polys. Now from here, you can highlight them easily, and if you delete one, you can see what the problem is. So if you select one of the black polys, you can just select the grow button and keep it growing. Now this doesn't look too pretty, but you'll notice once you delete it, nothing happens to your actual model. These are just polygons that are inside, which are causing problems. Now just clean up some areas and you'll find that your model's back to normal. Okay, so now all and any artifacts are fixed, you can start with retopologizing. So if you didn't attach your subtools in ZBrush, you'll notice you have a big list of elements in 3ds Max. So what we need to do is highlight all of them, right click, add selected to, and select new group. Now this will just organize everything nicely. We're going to start by dragging in a plane with one length and width segment. Line it up to the head of your character, make sure it's facing the right way. Make an editable poly, go in the freeform panel and change it from grid to surface and pick the surface you want your plane to stick to. Adjust the offset so the plane can be seen when it lies on the surface of your character. You can see here the plane kind of clips through the character model, so it's going to adjust the offset slightly. You only need to use a very small number. As you can see, the plane sort of hovers over the actual character. This is what we want. Now everything you need for Retopology is in this freeform panel. Now under the Polydraw panel, there are various tools which are very useful to you. The first one being drag. Drag will simply let you drag vertices around and also edges or the entire polygon. Hover over the tool and it will give you the list of hotkeys. Now moving on to Step Build. In my opinion, Step Build is the most useful tool you can use. This tool lets you place vertices onto your character, and if you hold shift, you can fill in those vertices with a polygon. Now, if you're to retopologize in a face, for example, you can have a reference image of the face retopologized, and then mimic it by drawing on the various areas of vertices and just filling them in. Using a reference image to retopologize certain areas, especially the face and hands, is definitely what I would recommend when doing this. Now the extend tool is also really useful because you can simply hold shift on an edge and drag out a new polygon. Now if you look at the hotkeys, you can also drag out an entire loop from an edge, which is a really useful tool when doing a bunch of repetitive topology. So if I was to extend a polygon from an edge, I could then use the vertice from that edge to create new polygons. The next tool in the list is the optimize tool. This lets you combine vertices into one if you want to attach two separate polygons, or if you want to convert some polygons into triangles. This is useful for ending loops, for example. So the next useful tool is the relax/soften tool. I use it to relax any uneven topology, adjust the strength to be quite low though, to have it make slight adjustments. This will give you more control over your topology. As you can see here, if your strength is too high, it will just push your topology through your character mesh. Use it on a low strength and just swipe over polygons to even them out. Now some polygons going through the mesh is fine, because our next tool will fix this. The next tool is the conform brush. Relax, soften, and conform should be used in combination. What this means is, when you relax and your polygons go through the mesh, you want to then use the conform brush to bump them back up, and they'll attach to the offset you set. So make sure the offset for the conform brush is the same as the offset for your surface. Now as you can see, as you use the conform brush, it just realigns the polygons onto the surface. Now if you're retopologizing the way I am, with individual objects for each body part, you would need to change the surface you're working on each time you change body part. So as you can see, the topology here doesn't attach to the eye because it's a separate object. So what we need to do is we need to change the surface from the head to the eyes and then work on them from there. Now again, once you're done with that, you just want to change it back to the head so you can retopologize the head again. Now in general, for retopologizing anything, you'd always want to start with the loops first. So for the head, you want to start with the eyes, mouth. For the torso, it would be the arms. For the hands, it would be the fingers, as this lets the topology flow around the loop. This lets Swift Loop work efficiently too, easily adding in more polygons if need be. So again, always use a reference image, and you can clearly see in the reference image there are loops around the mouth and eyes. Now once you have these in place, you can simply connect the various loops to the other polygons. Here I'm just using Swift Loop to add in more topology. I then use the conform brush to align this new topology with the surface, as otherwise it wouldn't be aligned properly. So this is the general premise of retopologizing for the face. Next is the torso, which is significantly easier. So my process with this is that I use Step Build to get the first loop down. which lets me assign the specific amount of polygons I would want for the loop. This can always be changed at a later date using the Swift Loop tool to add or the Optimize tool to remove. I try to keep my loops an even amount of polygons, so bear that in mind. Once my first loop is in place, I just use the Extend tool using Ctrl plus Shift to extend the entire loop forward. I would drag this loop the entire way down the arm, all the way up until the hand. Make sure you relax/soften and conform to ease the harshness of the topology. You're going to want to move the vertices around the areas which bend to make them flow nicer. To see your loop clearly, you can simply hide the object which your surface snaps to and work on it like that. Keep the loop straight and try to have it placed in the direction of travel. Once you fix the loop around the elbow, you can keep extending it and the polygons will flow nicely. So now that your arm is retopologized, around the joints you want to add in more loops, so when you animate them, they have sufficient polygons to deform properly. Again, when you add in new polygons using Swift Loop, you'd always want to use the conform brush. Now the torso is fairly easy, as you step build to lay out my topology. To connect the shoulder to the torso, all you want to do is drag out one polygon from the edges and start to connect. The hands are another difficult part to retopologize. I would recommend finding some form of reference to get a loose idea how to lay out the topology. This can help you when connecting the higher density fingers onto the low density hands, and then connecting these to the arms, as some loops will need to be ended so polygons from the finger don't trail all the way up to the shoulders. For the hands, we use the same process as the arms by step building the polygons along a finger and extruding them down, relaxing and softening, and then conforming to create nice and even topology. I find best results using 2 polygons on each side of the finger, giving an 8 polygon loop going around. This is nice because you can retopologize the fingertip with smooth, curved topology with no triangles. Okay, so now the finger shape is done, we can work on the fingertip. I use the step build tool to draw 9 vertices onto the fingertip. I then convert these into polygons. From here, I just manipulate the other polygons to attach to these. Now that you have one finger done, since each finger is a relatively similar shape, what we can do is copy and paste this one finger onto the rest. We can clone this finger using the Move tool by holding Shift while dragging it to create a new element. Align it as best as you can onto the next finger. You may need to rotate and scale it also. Once it's in roughly the right spot, use a conform brush to snap it to the surface below. Make adjustments where necessary. You may have some issues with polygons, but you can delete those and build them back in afterwards. This method is much quicker than doing each finger individually. So once all of the fingers are done, you can build the areas in between each finger and get all of them connected into a hand. Now this just takes time and patience. Make sure you have enough polygons in between each finger to allow them to deform properly. Now, as you can see, the polygons in between each finger are very thin, and if you were to extend these all the way up along the arm, you would have a section of very thin and uneven topology, which is not very professional. Here's an example of a completed hand I made. Notice how some polygons stop halfway up the hand and diverge sideways, turning 4 strips into 2, stopping the polygons going up the arm. Here I'm highlighting the areas where the polygons change to make it easier to see. Notice how some areas of thin polygons start travelling upwards, but then instead of continuing straight up the arm, they diverge sideways. They may even come back on themselves. Using these methods you can stop loops. In this example, many of these are quads, however it is fine to use triangles.